Sisters who watch. Sisters who watch. Sisters who watch.
Materialists. Hello. Welcome to Sisters Who Watch.
I'm Shelby.
And I'm Laura, and we're sisters who watch everything TV, movie, sports, concerts, and even movies about matchmaking. Today we're watching The Materialists.
Yes, that's right. We are watching Celine Song's follow-up to Past Lives.
And before we get into our review, please make sure you're giving Sisters Who Watch 5 stars. 5 stars wherever you listen. That would be much appreciated. And follow us on all our social media platforms at Sisters Who Watch. Thank you for your support. Okay, Shelby, can you give us a little bit of the background of Materialists?
Yes, as always, let's start with the logline of the title we're reviewing. So here it is for Materialists. A young, ambitious New York City matchmaker finds herself torn between the perfect match and her imperfect ex. So this title was billed as a feel-good romance and a romantic comedy. Spoiler alert, I disagree with both of those, but we will dive in to our review and share. But as we mentioned in our kickoff, this is written and directed by Celine Song, who really came on the scene with Past Lives a few years ago. We reviewed it with Toya from Harlem, and it was on both of our lists of one of the best movies of 2023. So definitely listen to our podcast episode and analysis on it. It ended up going to the Oscars and being nominated. And so I think because of that, a lot of people had high expectations. And then you throw in the fact that it's produced by A24, it's starring Dakota Johnson, Chris Evans, and the People's Prince, Pedro Pascal.
American Sweetheart.
There was a lot of things going for this movie.
Yes.
So it wasn't on my most anticipated list of content for this year, but once the trailer came out, I was looking forward to it. I was like, oh, as a rom-com girly, a new rom-com coming out from Celine Song with, Chris Evans, my favorite superhero, Captain America forever. I was like, I gotta see this.
Yeah, I didn't have many expectations, right? Shelby and I, we both enjoyed Past Lives. We actually reviewed it on the podcast. Yeah, that was almost 2 years ago. So yeah, you can check out that review, but we both really enjoyed that movie. And I know a lot of people also love that. So I think a lot of us were excited to see this movie. We're like, oh, a lot of my friends, all the girls I knew were like, oh, Materialists. A lot of people were talking about it and had a lot of mixed reviews. So I was intrigued. And I just love Chris Evans. So I was just ready to see him on the movie screen again, right? Because he's not in too many things. So Pedro Pascal's he's in like 6 movies this year.
Yeah.
He's in so many movies. It's wild. So I was intrigued by the cast. Are you a Dakota Johnson fan?
I was a little bit to say, how do you feel about her? I'm indifferent. I never saw 50 Shades of Grey. I know that was kind of like her breakout. Never watched those. I know she's kind of polarizing because of her acting style and her press interviews.
That's not true, Ellen. Everyone is like, Dakota Johnson took down Ellen DeGeneres. Like that was the start of her downfall.
Crazy. I know. Who would have thought Dakota Johnson calling her out?
Oh, that was so funny. But yeah, sorry, continue your point.
And, she's a Nepo baby. She is the daughter of 2 actors, Don Johnson and Melanie Griffith. So it's hard to know, is she like a really good actress and just getting these opportunities because of her talent? Or is she, just in this world and environment? And that's how she's gotten to this point. So I honestly don't have a strong opinion. She's fine to me.
Yeah. I think most people agree that she's not the best actress. Like most of my friends are like, yeah, Dakota Johnson's just Dakota Johnson. We saw her in Madam Web. That was reviewed. Yes, we reviewed that. And she was like, she plays the same character in every single movie, right? Like she plays herself, and she just kind of has this demeanor, kind of cold, like not approachable, kind of detached figure.
Not much emotion.
Right. And basically everything I've seen her in, it's very dry. Yeah, so she kind of plays the same character. So I think she just kind of plays herself. But it's interesting how she gets cast in so many movies. She's everywhere right now.
It's
It's
insane.
so she's booked. She's booked. So
Booked
clearly
and busy
people
somehow.
like working with her, or I don't know what it is, but even if pretty much all the women I talked to saw this movie, it's like, yeah, Dakota Johnson's not really the best actress, but clearly Hollywood likes her. So
Well, what's interesting is because normally, let's say you're the lead of a movie that bombs, like Madam Web, people might like, not want to work with you or like take a break. But it's like the opposite. It's like she's failing upward. It's like, oh, she was in
well,
Madam Web, but we still like her. It's interesting. Like, I think she's given more shots than the average person,
well, she's a skinny white nepo baby, so
That might explain it.
I think that's probably why she's failing upwards and getting lots of second chances. Yeah. So okay, so we talked about our expectations were kind of high, like Chris Evans. What did you think of the beginning of the movie? She's the matchmaker, she's at a wedding. How
Well,
did
the
you think?
first scene confused me. Like the first scene, Laura, the
Yes, yes,
opening
the
scene.
cave people.
I was like, am I in the right movie? Like, I kid you not. We had not seen any of that in the trailer, knew nothing about that. I literally looked next to my friend who I saw it with, and I was like, wait, what is happening? It just
Yeah,
felt a
that
little
was kind of
abrupt, like
strange.
a cold open on SNL that just didn't fit. And that's how it ended as well. Like, I don't know. That was a little jarring for me. So right off the bat, I was confused about the movie. Like that put me on like a concerning tone. Like, what am I watching?
I think that's really fair. I agree. I thought the opening, I was like, oh. It felt kind of bizarre. It felt a bit misplaced. So I am with
Yeah.
you.
But once we got out of that, we saw New York City. So I am wearing my New York Yankees
New
hat in honor
York.
of a New York set movie. And then you see her like walking, like kind of like Carrie Bradshaw through the streets and like, seeing a cute guy and being like, you need a matchmaker and handing her card. Like, I was like, okay, what's happening? Like, ooh. And then, you see her as a boss lady at work and they're celebrating her, giving her a cake for 9 weddings with,
Yeah.
with clients. Like, it's like, okay, Dakota Johnson's a boss. And then we get to the wedding, and I was like, oh, we love like a bougie wedding. I was like, this looks pretty. And we then see Pedro Pascal as the brother to the groom. And he looks good, but I don't know. Pedro Pascal doesn't really do it for me. Is that a hot take?
I no, I well, I agree with you. I do agree with you because I have a lot of friends. Like I saw it with two other girls. One of them is like, I'm obsessed with Pedro. He's my man. And other girls who I talked to who saw the movie were like, I just love Pedro Pascal. And when I was at the Cannes Film Festival a couple months ago, as I talked about on the podcast reviewing it,
Mm-hmm.
Pedro Pascal was in a movie there, and like everyone was freaking out. Like all these like college age girls were like, "Oh my gosh, Pedro, my father! Like I love him." So, and I am confused. I still like he's a good looking man, but I just don't understand why people like are so feral for Pedro Pascal. Like I genuinely I don't get it.
No.
He's but I think what I have learned, people love his personality. This is what people tell me. And like he's really funny and personable. Like everyone's like, he just seems like such a good guy. So that's what I hear. But people are like, he's so hot, like all of that. So yeah,
Got it.
that is what the girls tell me.
Good to know. That is good to know. Yeah. So honestly, I was way more excited when Chris Evans showed up. So right, she's
Absolutely.
sitting talking to Pedro Pascal, and I'm not gonna lie, I spotted him before because behind her you see like a waiter walk by, and I was like, "Is that Chris Evans?" But it was so fast, I didn't like
Yeah.
resonate. But then when he comes back, because she's like, "Yeah, I want a drink. I'll do a beer and coke," and Pedro's like, "Oh, I'll get it for you." All of a sudden, that's put on the table, and then you see, "Oh my gosh, Chris Evans, the bartender." I got so excited. But then you're like, huh,
Yes.
why does he know her drink order? And you find out they're exes. He is her poor ex, struggling actor who bartends on the side. Classic
Classic.
entertainment kind of
Classic
trope.
New York.
Classic New York. I don't know, just some of like the dialogue and just making it so obvious, like, oh, he's a poor man. I don't want to be with a poor man. And then like, oh, he's rich, he can take care of me. Like it was just like no one talks like that. It was a little off-putting to be like to basically boil down Chris Evans to being like the poor actor and Pedro
Yeah.
Pascal to being the rich finance guy.
Yeah, it felt very like on the nose. Like, oh, like
Yeah.
he's
Where's the
rich. And
subtlety?
when they were at the table, remember at like they were at the fancy date. So basically Pedro was like, I'm interested in you and I want to take you out. So they go out and she's like, you don't want to date me. I'm poor. Do all this stuff. And then like they are at this fancy restaurant and she's like, why do you want me? You're a unicorn. You're a unicorn. You have great looks. You have a great job. Your family's rich. You stay rich. You work like all this stuff. She was like, you're 6 foot. Like it was that conversation was so strange
It
to
was
me.
cringy.
It
I honestly
was.
felt uncomfortable.
Yeah, it just felt like very on the nose. And I was like, oh, so it's just choosing between the rich and the poor guy. Like we've seen this how many times before, you know?
Yeah, and it felt like there needed to be a bit more like dynamicism or something
Yeah, more
because
nuance.
yeah, it felt like you said too on the nose, but also like, oh, is that the message? Like, what message is this supposed to be? Like, I didn't
Yes.
know why I was watching this. Like, okay, you have a cool setup, right? A fun meet cute at a wedding. It's about matchmaking. Like, you've sometimes like that's like an interesting lens on a rom com. Fine, like
Mhm.
that whole monologue you were saying, it just felt so off putting, and I don't know what about it was off putting. Was it the lines? Was it the acting? Was it both?
I think it was both. I think Dakota Johnson is good at playing like this archetype, but I think she wasn't likable at all.
No, you're
And I
not
think we're
rooting for
supposed to,
anyone.
like, were we supposed to root for her? I feel like right as the
Yes,
main
that's
character,
she's the
we're supposed
lead.
to, right?
The lead in a romance. You're supposed to root for them.
So yeah, there wasn't yeah, she wasn't root worthy.
No. And so basically the movie follows her like being wined and dined by Pedro Pascal and like staying at his apartment and seeing how beautiful it is. And like when he brings her up, she's just staring at
And
the
she's just
art
like,
and the
"Oh my god." It's like she's never been in like a nice person's house. Like
this one was like, this is not how
it
people
was
act.
over the top. It was she
This is
was like,
not how people
"Oh my
behave.
gosh, like the bed, is this all yours? The penthouse?" Like it felt really over the her acting did feel over the top. And maybe if it just felt like, right, she's this 35-year-old woman who's matchmaking, like she's living in New York City, she knows rich people. It just felt like you've never been in a nice house, a nice apartment. It just felt very strange. It was very over the top. Like you wouldn't actually act like that.
No way. And then while this is happening, she's still like pining after Chris Evans, like,
Or maybe like
oh,
kind of toying with him a little
toying with
bit.
him. Yeah,
Yeah.
playing with him. And he called her out on it at the end, but it was like she would sleep over at Pedro's, but then something bad would happen at work and she would call Chris Evans.
I'm sure.
And he'd like, talk her off a ledge and like give her a hug. And she'd be like, okay, thanks, bye. Like it was just so like everything about her, it was hard to root for her. It was hard to support her. And even like the flashback, remember the flashback of like
Yeah, he's standing in the street and she's yelling at him. He's like, "Just pay $20 for the garage." And he's like, "No, we're gonna find street parking. We're gonna find street parking." She's like, "Just pay $20. I know what we've been spending. We're gonna get a late fee, and the late fee's gonna be $25 per person, more than the part." Like all this stuff. What did you think of that?
it was so bad. First of all, again, not realistic. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I love myself street parking, but
Street parking in New York City,
street parking in New York City,
girl.
like everyone knows that that is so hard to find. Like, just eat it and like pay for ballet or go to a garage. Like, it just seemed unrealistic. Like that you're gonna spend that long looking for,
Yes, like
especially if you're
30,
going to a
20
fancy
minutes.
restaurant. At this point, you're spending money tonight. Like, that's is what it is. Like, it just felt like this is not realistic. None of it felt realistic. Like, I'm like, I was a young person living in New York City. Like,
Why didn't they take I
take
mean, she was
take the
like, "Yeah, why
train.
didn't we take the train?" He
Yeah,
was
like
like, "I
it
wanna
just
drive." Like, I was
none of
running
it
late. Yeah,
made sense.
none of it
None
made
of it made
sense.
sense. And I think that was supposed to be like a big kind of like funny moment. Like, oh my gosh, they're fighting in the street. My theater did not laugh at all. The only scene where they laughed is when we find out um about the truth about Pedro's height. That was
Yes.
the only time
Yes.
my theater laughed. And I think it was more of like discomfort.
I can't. Where did you see it?
I saw the movie at Universal City, the AMC,
Yeah.
that nice one's
Okay.
City Walk.
Interesting. Yes.
Hmm.
I saw it at Alamo Draft House in San Francisco. Yeah, I think my theater was a bit. I mean, so my friend who one of the girls I went with, she was laughing a lot. I think because it
Oh.
was like cringy, like it was. I think it was a little like irreverent. Like a lot of the things Dakota Johnson was
Mm.
saying, she would be like, she would make like little jokes, being like, "Oh, well, are you rich enough?" Like she would make like kind of awkward jokes and say things kind of strangely. So I
Yeah.
think like we kind of giggled at some of these weird line deliveries.
Interesting.
Um, so we did laugh like there a few times, like, but right, it's not a romantic comedy. Like it's definitely not a romantic comedy. It was definitely giving romantic drama. And
Ugh.
yeah, that scene when she's standing in the street, I'm also like, what are you doing standing in the middle of the street in New York City? I also was like, no one would actually do that.
No one would do
And
that.
that whole conversation, she's like, I'm a bad person. I can't be with you in your ugly car and your poor car with your poor job. Like she was saying
Ugh.
all these
It just awful.
things. She was like, I'm a bad
Awful.
person. Like, I don't want to be with you. I'm gonna resign. Like, you have no money. She kept on saying like all this stuff. I was just like, why are you saying this to him? You're not
I'm
very
like,
nice to
this is
him.
no, one, this is not how people talk. And two, you obviously don't like this man. So that's
No.
like it, you don't like him. All you care about is money. Like, it was, I think, and that maybe because people don't talk like that, or if they feel that they don't say it, maybe that's why it was uncomfortable for me to watch. I was like, no one is this blatant about only wanting to marry for money in real life.
Hmm. So she clearly didn't really like Chris Evans. But what did you think about her and Pedro's like dynamic? Did you like their relationship? Did you buy it?
I was trying to figure out why he was into her, and she even asked
Right.
him that, like,
It
why are
was
you into me?
unclear.
He was like, oh, like you're dynamic, you're confident, you're interested. Like, I,
I agree.
as a unicorn who is probably a chronic bachelor and is around so many women in New York City, I was like, why does he want to be with her? No offense, but it didn't really make sense. But he was like very into her. Like, maybe it was chemical, maybe he just felt something, but he was very into her. And it didn't really feel like she was bringing much to the table in terms of like their conversations. Like, she would always be asking, like, how much is this apartment? Or like,
How
how
much
can
you
you afford
make?
this? Yeah, it was, I feel like she was not really caring about him in their conversations. And yeah, so I was like, is this a real relationship? But they kept going on those dinner dates. She kept going over. They were about to go to Europe on a trip.
Yeah, Iceland. Yeah, I agree. It was it was unclear why he did like her. It just like they didn't really talk about much besides like money and family finances and stuff. But it did seem strange how he was like real so honed in on
Yeah,
her.
so locked in.
Yeah, so locked in. Yeah.
That was
Okay.
weird. And I
Okay,
think maybe
yeah.
eventually that's why she was like, maybe this isn't going to work because the types of conversations she was having with Chris Evans were so much deeper. They had a
Mhm.
history, of course. I think they said they dated for like 6 years or something. So they
Mhm.
were together a long time. But the fact that she couldn't talk to Pedro about her issues at work, but she could talk to Chris, like, that's a red flag.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know some other people are like, okay, she's making $80,000 a year and she has her own apartment in New York City. How is that possible?
Not realistic.
But $80,000 in New York City? You can't get a one bedroom studio, live by yourself? I thought that was wild.
Not realistic. Something else unrealistic about this movie.
Yes, a lot of plot holes. And so finally Dakota Johnson, I mean it's kind of clear she doesn't really like Pedro Pascal. Like she just kind of likes the lifestyle that he
That's
provides.
honestly all she wants.
Right, like that was pretty clear.
Being taken care of.
Yes, which is like so fair. And I think like that's why I don't blame Dakota Johnson. Like it's important, right? When you marry someone, right? They're like, it's a business transaction. Like they kept on saying all that stuff. And something else, she kept on being like, the metrics, the metrics, like you guys, they check off a lot of boxes. Like, I don't know. She kept on saying stuff like that. And then, oh, we didn't talk about her client.
I alluded to it, right? Like problems at work, but no, we haven't spoken about it.
Yeah. So Sophie, so we kind of see her throughout, and she's this 39-year-old attorney, boss woman, and a lot of men don't want her. It was also, oh, other times we laughed when she was like talking to potential clients, and they were like, I want someone who's tall, but not too tall, like not skinny, but not fat, like all this stuff. So I thought seeing, all the people talk about the things they want in relationships were, interesting. So my theater laughed at those things.
I guess my theater thought it was like triggering or off-putting because no one was laughing. I think everyone was
Yeah,
like,
it was
uh,
triggering.
dating's already hard enough. We don't need to hear about this.
I know,
This
be
honestly,
reminded.
this movie is a dating horror story. It is a
Yeah,
modern dating horror story. This whole movie. It does not make you want to go on dates. It does
no.
not make you want to do matchmaking. Yeah, this movie was not anything romantic at all.
Yeah, and now like you said, the dating horror story thing is interesting because her client Sophie, right? Dakota Johnson matches her with a guy, and she's like, "Oh,
He
but
was a doctor.
yeah, doctor." But he ends up, we'll put a like trigger warning. He ended up like,
Mm-hmm.
assaulting her, and then Sophie launches an investigation into the matchmaking company, and Dakota Johnson just like loses her mind.
She
It's
breaks. She
Yeah,
crashes
she
out.
breaks. And I was like, yes, obviously this is bad, but I don't know why she like took this so hard.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I was also confused by that because it's like she was like, I could have known. And it's like, yeah, you couldn't have. Like, it's not your fault.
Yeah. So why are you so stressed?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like why is she losing her mind
Mm-hmm.
from this? I don't know. Maybe it was just like a buildup from so many other things. Cause I was
Mm-hmm.
just like, why is she taking this so hard? And she was like obsessed with coming to Sophie, and then Sophie like calls her in a panic. It just like that whole storyline. I don't know how necessary it was. I don't think it really drove the plot forward.
No, and it just made it more of a horror
More
story,
sad,
more
yeah.
sad. And I think, right, it led to Dakota kind of taking leave from her job, and then running away with Chris Evans. Not really because she liked him, but because she
No,
had nowhere
because
else
he
to
was
go.
there,
Because
yeah.
Pedro, she just broken up with Pedro because they weren't a match. But also, I think the height reveal that was not a
Yes.
good look. So basically, early on in the movie, there's a mention of like, oh yeah, because height's so important in dating, one of the metrics, like, men, if they can afford it, will go get a surgery to get taller, where you take bone out of their,
Yeah, they like break their
they
legs
break their
and
legs and
extend.
extend. And, everyone was like, you kind of just like, oh wow, that's crazy.
Like ha
But
ha ha.
like, yeah, you don't really think much of it. And then in bed with Pedro, Dakota notices these scars on his legs. And
Yeah, and
I didn't
I didn't know what it
know
was.
what it was.
No.
And then she keeps touching it in bed, and he gets annoyed and he gets up, and she follows him to the kitchen. And he's like, you know what it is? And she's like, yeah. When'd you get the surgery? And then my whole audience gasped. And we were all like, what?
Yeah, that was probably the best scene of the movie, or the most interesting scene of the movie,
Yeah.
because my friend who was sitting next to me, she was like, "Oh my gosh, he got the surgery, the height surgery." Like right before the conversation started, I was like, it's like I was not expecting that at all.
And I'm telling you, the only moment my audience laughed was when she was like, well, how tall were you before? And he was
He bends
standing
down,
and
yeah.
he bent down.
My theater also laughed at that
I
throughout
can't.
that whole,
He
yeah.
bent down to like 5'6" or whatever, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm not a. It's not the same or whatever." It was just
Not a
so
unicorn anymore,
not a
yeah.
unicorn anymore. It was just so uncomfortable. I was like, Pedro, please.
Yeah, and I think
Please.
that was the humor of the movie, like, ironic, kinda cringy, awkward, like, that I think that was the vibe. It was, like, kinda awkward giggles and laughter.
I
I
guess
think
that's
it's
not my
probably, like, a
kind of,
satire on dating, right?
just not
Like,
well executed.
yeah. I think it has a lot of interesting, like, conversation starters, and, I mean, a lot of people are talking about it, but I agree. I think people are talking about it for, like, the not the best reasons.
Yeah. And so after that, right, she like runs to Chris Evans. They decide to like go to upstate New York just to get away. I was like, I wonder where in upstate. Probably the Hudson Valley. Probably not that far, to be honest. And I guess they're gone for a period of time and they like sneak into a wedding because his catering company was working it.
Yeah.
And so they have like a wedding crashers moment and she kind of like flirting with him, kisses him, and he's like, what are you doing? Like, what is this? I'm not just your play toy. And I was proud of him for having that moment because she was literally just using him when she
Yes.
needed to. And I
Yes.
felt bad. I was like, wow, not her making me feel bad for Chris Evans
No, I felt bad for him the whole
the
movie.
whole movie because he was, trying to make it as an actor and like do all these things and but still like check it and show up for Sophie or whatever her name was or Dakota and she could care less. And then while they're having this little fight in upstate, she gets a call from her client Sophie that the doctor that she's like suing and assaulted her is outside her door. Another reason why this is a horror story. She
I
was like, I
know.
should have never let him walk me home. Something that you would not think, literally, I kid you not, that made me like be like, bruh, you gotta be careful even with that because now
Yeah.
that guy knows where you live. So all I'm telling you, this whole movie was like scary to me. It
Yeah.
made you think about all these
Interesting.
things. I was like, that's crazy. So
Yeah.
then they rush to New York. Dakota saves the day, talks to Sophie. Chris Evans stays outside like all night. I was just like, this man doing everything for her.
For what?
For
Literally.
what? And then they just kind of tie the bow quickly. Like it felt very rushed. Then, Sophie feels better, becomes a client again. Dakota Johnson starts working at the company and is going to get a promotion. She and Chris Evans start dating. I was like, wait, what? All this happened in like a minute.
Yeah.
I was like, this is the happy ending? If I was Sophie, I'd probably never want to do matchmaking at that place again.
No.
Like, again, not
No.
realistic. I was assaulted and then I almost had like a stalker incident in my apartment, and I'm going to go back to the same people to find love.
Yeah, that was bizarre. And also towards the end, Dakota calls her boss and is like, "I'm quitting." Did you did not give any explanation why. Also, you've been complaining about money this whole movie, and they're like, "Oh, did you get a better job?" And she said no.
You're going to quit and live with your poor boyfriend who has three roommates. And then Chris Evans proposes with like a flower or whatever that calls back to the caveman in the beginning.
Yes.
And he had his street meat there. Like, I don't know. I was just like, I'm sorry. There's no way Dakota Johnson wants to marry and loves this man. She has literally made it clear this whole movie that she does not like him.
No.
And everyone's like, oh no, she's choosing love in spite of him being poor. And I'm like, does she really
I
love
don't
him?
think she loves
I
him.
don't
I
think
don't
she
think she
loves
loves
him.
him.
I think she's settling in both cases. She's just now settling to be with someone who, right, is more her level, as like the metrics talk about, right? Someone who's
Right.
had a similar experience. Like we can connect on things more.
And
Like
someone
less
who's
out of
like
touch.
obsessed with her
Mm-hmm.
and will always be there for her as a bit of a
Yeah.
doormat, right? Yeah, it's interesting because in the beginning of the movie, right, it's all like, oh, it's a business transaction. Like, and Dakota Johnson talks like, Pedro Pascal's new sister-in-law kind of off the ledge, like, why are you marrying him? And they kept on talking about, yeah, you like need love, but you also need stability. You need
Yeah. And like
finances.
value. He makes you feel valued.
Right. And so me and my friends after movie, we thought she wasn't going to end up with either of them, right? Because they don't give her the things that they talk about in the movie and the things that she
No.
wants, right? Pedro Pascal didn't give her love. Like she was like, I just don't love you. I just don't have those emotions with you. And Chris Evans I mean, she doesn't even like him.
No, I'm
And
like, this
also,
girl
he
does not
has
like him.
no stability. He has 3 roommates in like at the age of 35, 30 something. And so it just felt very strange that she would like suddenly elope and go to the court, house to get married to him, because all the things the movie was talking about, how we need both, how we need balance, like just kind of throws that out the window in the end.
Yeah.
So I thought the ending was confusing. I was like, but she doesn't really love Chris Evans, and he provides no stability at all. Like, I thought the movie was going to be about how like Dakota Johnson's going to choose herself and she finds someone else who gives her like all the things that she wants.
Yeah.
Where, yeah, I think in the end, it basically teaches, is the story to settle?
No, this is what
Because that's
I'm
what it's
saying.
giving.
It's like,
She
this is why it's
settled.
a horror story.
She settled.
I don't think the message is clear. It's like, oh, yeah, when you have a lot of money, go get a surgery to be taller so you can like get more women. And then, oh, no, yeah, you should settle for the guy that you don't really like but is obsessed with you,
Right.
but doesn't have, the things that you want and have been like saying you need your whole life.
I
Like you
know.
need stability
You've
because you
been
didn't have that as a
screaming
kid.
at him for 5 years. That's not
Yeah.
going to change. He's still poor. Like, I just. Okay, Shelby, I have a quick red flag, green flag, 1, 2, 3 question for you.
Oh, we've done this in a while.
Is it a red flag to get height surgery?
Yes.
Oh, tell me more.
I think in general, I do like to believe we're created in these bodies for a reason, Like you're probably meant to be your height. Like you mess with your height, that might change like just how your body
Yeah, who
moves
you are
and
as a
works and who you
person.
are as a person. Like it might mess with like stuff biologically. I don't know. I'm not a scientist by any means or a doctor, but I'm like, does that seem right? You know, to literally break your legs to be taller? Be a
I
short
know.
king. Short
It's a
kings are
red
having a
flag.
moment. Like, like, yeah, I think it's a red flag. Health wise, mentally wise, like confidence wise, because you want a confident guy. Like, that is not giving confidence that you felt that you needed to
No.
do that in order to feel better about yourself. Like, that's kind of
Yeah,
sad.
and he has those nasty scars on his legs too. It doesn't look good.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I agree. I see. I can understand, right? Like tall men just have such an easier life. Like I understand that.
100%.
They
But tall
right,
girls
they get
don't. Let's not get into it.
like tall men, right? They are more likely to be CEOs, all that stuff, get paid
Yeah.
more, get more women, etc. But I agree, especially in 2025, it is short king season. And being 5'6", yeah, I get it, it's a disadvantage, but like men, like a girl's gonna like you no matter, like if you're just a good person with a good job, it doesn't matter how tall you are. He's rich and
100%.
it's like,
You
what?
come from a good
No.
family. You are like in private equity in New York City. You have your own Oh, you should be fine. I
Yes.
Everything about Pedro Pascal, 5'6", he would be fine.
Right. It's like the Oppenheim brothers. The Oppenheim
Yes.
group. Aren't they're like 5'5"? Those guys are like, it's Kevin Hart. It doesn't matter if you're short. Like
No.
people will love you, you'll get women, you can be rich and successful, like as long as you have confidence,
Yeah,
It's
big
short king
mistake.
season. Okay, Shelby, is Materialists a wait or a watch?
It's a wait for me. I am a rom-com aficionado. Might even call
Oh.
myself a rom-com snob, if I'm being
Oh.
honest. I have a high bar. And if you tell me that something is going to be a rom-com, there better be romance, there better be comedy, there better be tropes, this didn't deliver on any of it. I was not rooting for the lead. I was not laughing. I was not swooning. I was uncomfortable the entire time.
Oh
Like,
no.
I honestly, Laura, one of the worst movies I've seen this year.
Ooh. Drag.
Is it a wait or watch for
Dragging.
you?
I left the movie thinking, oh, I liked it more than not liking it.
That's good.
So I would say it's a watch. I wouldn't go running to the theater, but it is an interesting movie, and I think it sparks a lot of conversation. A lot of people are seeing it. A lot of people have very varying takes on it. So it's
Mm-hmm.
an interesting film in that way, and I do like the premise and a lot of the commentary about dating. But I agree. The acting, I mean, Dakota Johnson's acting is just very specific. And I mean, she's getting cast, so clearly it's speaking to some people, but it's but if you love Chris Evans, honestly, I just enjoyed watching Chris Evans
He
genuinely,
looked
just being
different
like,
though, didn't he?
I think he had darker hair.
Something was, he did not look like Captain America Chris Evans. He still looked good, but I was like, what's different? Don't go if you think it's a rom-com. Don't go if you want to be happy
Yes.
about dating in
Yes,
America
it's
right
a romantic drama for sure.
now. Ugh, honestly, it's a drama. What romance?
Yeah.
Okay, for our what to watch segment, if you really want to see more of Dakota Johnson, next year she's going to be in the adaptation of Verity, Colleen Hoover's book.
Oh gosh, Colleen Hoover.
It's
True.
also stars Anne Hathaway. I don't know anything about the movie or the book because I have not read it, but I, given everything that happened with the last Colleen Hoover adaptation, I just feel like this one's gonna have,
Yeah,
might
it's
be a
gonna be
must watch.
buzzy.
It's gonna be buzzy, especially it's like Anne Hathaway, Dakota Johnson, Josh Hartnett. Like it just feels like people will probably be talking about this.
Yes, I know Dakota Johnson is in so much stuff. And
She's
did
working.
you? She is working. And did you see the preview for Splitsville? Did that play in your theater?
No, I was a little late, so I missed most of the
Oh.
trailers.
But it actually premiered at Cannes, so I like know people who saw it. And Dakota Johnson was at the Cannes Film Festival, so a lot of people were talking about her. But she's in a movie called Splitsville. And I actually met the director, Michael Angelo Cavino, because he came to the American Pavilion. Um, uh, but yeah, a lot of people were saying that that movie's like really funny. They really enjoyed it. I didn't hear like, oh, Dakota Johnson shined. I didn't hear that, but she is in it, and it's coming out later this year. So, and I heard good things about the movie, so
Okay, a
maybe
lot
that.
of Dakota on our screens to look forward
A
to.
lot. Yeah, she's booked.
And as we all know, Pedro Pascal is having a summer. So if you really want to see more of him, the Fantastic Four movie is coming out in a few weeks.
And Eddington, the Ari Aster movie.
I did see that trailer in my theater.
Yeah.
It, I don't know, it looks crazy.
Yeah, that's a wild movie.
Yeah,
I saw
it looks
that my last
crazy.
day at the Cannes Film Festival, and I was just like, oh wow, it's that movie is wild. But he's also in that. When I'm telling you, like Pedro Pascal's in like 5 movies, I'm like, I don't
And
know
he was
how
in
he's
The
doing all
Last of
this.
Us a few months ago. Like
Yes,
he's, talk about someone working. You think Dakota
I
Johnson's
know.
working? Pedro Pascal is working.
Yeah, he wasn't they you saw them with the little head of Pedro Pascal. He's not available. He's
Mm-mm.
booked.
Booked and busy.
Absolutely. Yes, and I guess we don't know what Chris Evans will be in, but I'm ready.
Yeah, hopefully he starts working more. Maybe so.
And choosing better movies than Materialists.
uh,
We need him in better stuff.
what's crazy is, again, on paper, this looks great, right? It's A24. It's
Yes,
Celine Song
yes.
after, Past Lives. Like, I think they all thought this probably was like Past Lives 2.0, but
I know they probably
it is
did.
not. If this gets nominated
No,
for an Oscar, I would be
girl.
shocked.
Dakota Johnson for Best Actress. Best Screenplay, please. I can't. She's like, I'm a bad person. I'm a horrible person.
Please.
You hate me. She. I kept during that conversation. I was like, what?
I
Why
honestly,
did you keep on saying you're a bad person?
I wanted to like cover my ears. Like I could not listen to her throughout the movie. Like
Yeah.
I never walk out of movies, but I honestly, there was a second when I was like, I can't listen to this
Oh,
anymore.
Shelby was gonna walk out of Materialist, guys. That's really crazy. It's like in Cannes, as you know, probably in Cannes, like
Oh,
people just
don't
get up.
play.
People will get up after like
Especially
10 minutes.
because
They're
those
like, no.
movies can be bizarre and long.
Yes.
So it's like,
yes. Shelby would just pop up and get out of her seat. Something else that I realized too, right? Celine Song, she did Past Lives, and I was just hoping for maybe like more diversity. The
maybe
movie
that's
did
why
feel
I also didn't get into it.
it did feel very white, and I was like surprised there were like no Asian people in that movie.
Maybe that's why I didn't feel authentic. Like I don't know. It just something was amiss.
Right? I also
100%.
noticed that. I was like, everyone is white. Pedro Pascal is not white, but right, his brother married a white woman. Like it just felt like everyone at the matchmaking service was white. I was just like, why are there at least like there's no Asian people in this movie? So that also was strange to me.
I
I
agree.
was like, Celine Song, why didn't you cast not like anyone who didn't look white? I just thought
Doesn't
that
add up.
was strange. Anyways, Shelby and I can talk about stuff for forever. But if you enjoyed, hopefully you enjoyed this episode more than you enjoyed Materialists. But if you did, then please give Sisters Who Watch 5 stars. Five
Thank
stars wherever you
you.
listen. Please leave us a review. That would mean so much to us. And please follow us on all our social media platforms at Sisters Who Watch. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, we're there. So go support us and find us.
Yes, we really want to hear from y'all. So you can comment on all of our social media posts. You can DM us. You can leave us a review, like Laura said. You can even email us at sisterswhowatch@gmail.com. However you want to get in contact with us, please do it. Thank you so much
Yes.
for the support, y'all. We appreciate it. Bye.
Bye. Stay watching.
Everything.